All right, so you think you know the US dollar, right? I mean, it's just a buck. But trust me, there's a lot more to this single piece of paper.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going deep, deep into the dollar bill. It's history, the
Oh,
symbols, all those little quirks
yeah.
that make dollar bill collecting a thing.
Hmm.
By the end, you'll have fun facts, and maybe you'll see this everyday thing a bit differently, like how it connects to, American history. Our main source, by the way, that's the
Hmm.
Wikipedia article on the US $1 bill. Tons of info in there.
It really is fascinating. Each little design change, it's like it reflects something from that time in American history.
Oh, that's so true. Like back in 1928 when the government decided to shrink all the paper money.
Mm.
Imagine trying to fit those old dollar bills in your wallet.
Oh, man. That would have been a challenge. But you know what we got from that era? The funny backs.
Funnybacks.
Yeah, the silver certificates. They're from 1928 to 1934, and they have this huge 1 on the back. That's how they got their nickname.
So like a design quirk became a collector's item. Huh. Bet they didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Speaking of things most people don't notice, we all see George Washington, right?
Right.
Front of the bill every time. But do you know why that specific portrait was chosen?
So the design we use now is from 1963,
Okay.
but it's based on a painting way back in 1796,
Oh, wow.
The Athenaeum Portrait by Gilbert Stuart. Kind of cool to think like one painting became the face of a whole nation.
It's like that portrait is America visually. It wasn't always just George on the dollar, though. What about that time Martha Washington was on there?
Ah, yes. 1886, the $1 silver certificate. First time a woman's portrait was on U.S. currency. Big deal.
Those must be worth a fortune now.
They are pretty valuable to collectors, yeah.
Now let's talk about those two seals, the Federal Reserve one and the Treasury one.
Hmm.
I gotta admit, all those letters and numbers on the Federal Reserve seal, yeah, I never really got what they meant.
It's actually pretty simple. It's a code, basically, for where the bill was issued. Each letter is for one of the 12 Federal Reserve banks, A to L, and the number, that matches the specific bank that printed it.
So, like, if I see F4, I know it's from the one in Cleveland, Ohio.
Exactly.
It's like a geography lesson on every dollar. What about the Treasury seal? Scales, stars, key. It always looks so official.
Yeah. It's supposed to, right? Like, you can trust this. The scales are for justice. The chevron with 13 stars, the original colonies, and the key. That symbolizes authority. Oh, and you'll see 1789. That's when the Treasury Department was established.
Wow. It's packed with symbolism, isn't it? Each bill really is like a tiny history lesson.
And there's even a little twist with the Treasury seal itself. In 1969, they changed it up a bit.
Yeah?
Yeah, they switched the wording from Latin to English.
Oh, wow.
Small change, but it is about making it easier for everyone to understand, I guess.
It makes you wonder if there are other secrets hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's flip this bill over to the reverse side. Most people, I think, never even really look at it.
That's true.
But this is where it gets really interesting. We've got both sides of the Great Seal of the United States. There's a lot going on there, though. Break it down for me.
Okay, so on the left side, you see that unfinished pyramid, 13 steps representing the 13 colonies. But unfinished, right, that's to symbolize that America is still a work in progress, always striving, always improving. Then there's the Eye of Providence in a triangle above the pyramid. That symbolizes like a guiding force looking over the nation. And then we have those Latin phrases, Envit coeptis and Novus Ordo Seclorum.
Always wondered about those. He favors our undertakings, right?
You got it.
And the new order of the ages, like they were trying to capture the spirit of a brand new nation,
Exactly. They wanted to show the vision, the hopes of the founding fathers, this new order, this new era in history. And on the right side, you have the bald eagle with the olive branch and the arrows. So peace, but also ready to defend itself. And he's holding a ribbon in his beak with E pluribus unum on it.
Out of many. One, right.
Right. Showing the unity of all the states coming together. And, if you really look closely, you'll see the number 13 all over. 13 steps, 13 stars, 13. Well, you get the idea. It all goes back to those original colonies.
Wow. I never realized they put that much thought into it.
Yeah.
It really makes you appreciate the dollar bill, all that history.
Absolutely.
Here's something a lot of people probably don't know. The motto, "In God We Trust," wasn't always there.
Nope. Added in 1957.
Really? So pretty recent then.
Yeah.
What was the thinking behind that?
It was, a time when religion was becoming more, more prominent.
I see.
It was seen as like a way to reflect those values, I guess. And beyond the design, there's been all sorts of experimenting over the years, different papers, different printing techniques.
Wow, really? I never knew there was so much going on behind the scenes with something so common.
Yeah, it's all about improving the security and durability, making sure that the US dollar stays reliable, that it's hard to counterfeit. But there's another whole side to the dollar bill, the collecting world.
Okay, now you've got me intrigued. What are some of those strange, valuable dollar bills out there?
Well, one that always gets attention is the 1963 Dallas note. It has a K on it.
Okay.
That's for the 11th Federal Reserve District, and there's an 11 printed inside a black seal.
Wait, so a dollar bill from Dallas with the number 11 around the time Kennedy was in Dallas?
It's a coincidence, of course, but it does make those bills pretty collectible. Then you have the Joseph W. Barr bill.
Joseph W. Barr.
He was Treasury Secretary for only 31 days, so you'd think those 1963B bills with his signature would be rare.
Right, a 1-month Treasury Secretary, that's got to be a collector's dream.
You'd think so. Turns out, though, they printed a ton of them during his short time, so they're actually pretty common.
Ah, so much for instant riches. It seems the collecting world has its own rules. What else should we watch out for? Just digging through our wallets.
Well, there are radar notes. Those are palindromes. So the serial number reads the same backward and forward. Just a fun little thing.
I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for those.
And then star notes. Those are replacements for bills with printing errors. They've got a star at the end of the serial number. Can be more valuable depending on how rare they are.
So a star means hang on to it. Maybe there's treasure hidden in my change. It's amazing how these everyday things can have, like, hidden value, you know?
Exactly. And speaking of value, there's the whole debate about the dollar bill versus the dollar coin.
Oh, right. There have been attempts to switch to the coin. What's the story there?
Well, the Government Accountability Office, they've said it multiple times. Dollar coins would save a lot of money. They last way longer.
I vaguely remember that Susan B. Anthony coin, though. Didn't that kind of flop?
Yeah, people didn't really take to it. They seem to like that paper bill.
It's funny how sometimes we stick with what's familiar, even if it doesn't make as much sense financially.
It just goes to show how, I guess, how much our culture shapes things, even economics. The
Right.
dollar bill is like this symbol of America now.
Yeah. People aren't ready to let go.
Yeah.
It seems the dollar bill runs deeper than we realize.
Absolutely.
Who knew there was so much to discover about it?
And we've really just scratched the surface. We've talked about the stuff that's supposed to be on the dollar bill. But there's a whole other world of collectible bills out there.
Oh.
The ones with errors.
You mean like misprints and stuff?
Exactly. Those little imperfections to some collectors, those are what make a bill special.
It's like finding a rare stamp or a misprinted baseball card.
Mm-hmm.
The flaw makes it valuable.
Yeah.
What are some of the misprints you see with dollar bills?
Well, you've got the double denomination bill.
Double denomination.
Yeah, it's like a dollar bill, but it accidentally has like the design from a $10 bill printed on it.
Oh, that's crazy.
They're super rare, and collectors go nuts for them.
I can't even imagine how that happens.
Like the printing press had a brain fart or something.
Uh-huh. Right. What other kinds of errors are there?
You've got the inverted overprint.
Inverted overprint.
So, like the Treasury seal or the Federal Reserve seal, it's printed upside down.
Huh. It's got to be tough to spot that.
It is. It's subtle, but it can make a bill worth a lot. Hundreds, even thousands of dollars.
So I really need to check my change carefully.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's like a treasure hunt, right?
Totally.
God.
Makes you wonder how many are out there just waiting to be found.
That's the fun of collecting, isn't it? The thrill of the hunt.
It's a good reminder to, keep your eyes open. There's always something new to learn, even with the stuff we see every day.
Absolutely.
Speaking of which, what about the lifespan of a dollar bill? They get pretty beat up,
Yeah, they go through a lot.
How long do they usually last in circulation?
Probably shorter than you think. About 6.5 years on average.
Really? Wow, that's not long at all.
It's less than some of the bigger bills. Those can last like 10 years or more.
Why such a short lifespan for the dollar bill?
Well, think about it. It's the one we use the most every day for all sorts of transactions.
Right.
So they get crumpled, folded, ripped, exposed to the elements.
Like they're running a marathon. So what happens to them when they're worn out?
They go back to the Federal Reserve where they get checked out and taken out of circulation.
So there's like a retirement home for dollar bills.
Haha, something like that. Then they get destroyed and they print new ones to take their place.
It's the circle of life, but for dollar bills.
It is, and they print a lot of them too. Billions every year, just to keep up with the demand.
Makes sense. They are the workhorses of the money world, I guess.
That's a good way to put it.
But with all these digital payments now,
Right.
credit cards, phones, all that,
Mm-hmm.
do you think the days of the paper dollar are numbered?
People have been asking that question for a while.
It does feel like everyone's swiping plastic or tapping their phones these days.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend. But cash still matters. Oh, yeah. A lot of people don't have bank accounts, or they prefer cash for privacy reasons. And there's that cultural significance, too, you know?
I get that. It's different holding a dollar bill in your hand.
Yeah.
It feels real.
Right. It's tangible, like a connection to history and tradition.
Yeah. And like we've been talking about, the dollar bill's about way more than just buying stuff.
It's part of American identity now.
It really is. It's like we're carrying a little piece of history around with us.
I think it'll be around for a while yet, even with all the digital stuff.
This whole deep dive has been really eye-opening.
It's amazing what you can learn when you look closely.
I never thought I'd be so interested in a dollar bill.
It's all about staying curious, you know.
You got that right. But before we wrap up, one more question. We've talked about the past and the present of the dollar bill.
Yeah.
What about the future? Think we'll ever see a big redesign, new look, maybe different people on it?
That's a good question. And a tough one. Some people definitely think it needs an update to be more inclusive, show how America has changed.
I can see that.
But the current design, it's so iconic. Everyone knows it.
Like, do you renovate a historical landmark or leave it alone?
Exactly. It's a tough balance, tradition versus progress.
What do you think is more likely to happen?
Hard to say. Redesigning money is a huge deal, you know. You've got to think about public opinion, security, how you're going to actually make the change.
Sounds complicated.
It is. But it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
The dollar bill story definitely isn't over yet.
It really is amazing, isn't it, how this one little thing, the dollar bill, has so much history, so many layers of symbolism.
It makes you wonder what'll happen in the future. Like maybe we'll see totally new denominations as the economy changes and all.
A $25 bill or a $1,000 bill. Now that would be something.
It could happen. Money has to, keep up with the times, right? So yeah, maybe we'll see new bills or old ones disappear as we go along.
It just shows even money isn't permanent. This whole deep dive has been a real surprise.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I never thought I'd be so fascinated by a dollar bill.
It just proves there's always something new to learn. Just gotta look a little closer, ask some questions.
That's for sure. So, after everything we've talked about, what do you think? Should they redesign the dollar bill, make it more modern? Or is the current one, too important, too connected to our past?
That's a tough one. There are good arguments on both sides. A redesign, you could make it more inclusive, show how America's values have changed. But the design we have now, it's known all over the world.
It's almost like those bigger debates about history and progress, they're happening right there on this little piece of paper.
It really is.
How do you honor the past, but also make room for the future? Big questions, but definitely something to think about.
That's what I love about these deep dives. We learn new stuff, but it also gets us thinking, Really makes you look at the world differently.
For everyone listening, I hope you'll actually take a look at the dollar bills in your wallet. You never know what you might find.
Maybe a misprint or a weird serial number. Or maybe you'll just see it differently now, appreciate all that history and art.
And hey, maybe one day that dollar bill will be a collector's item, passed down a little piece of American history.
That would be pretty cool.
Well, on that note, I think that's the end of our deep dive into the dollar bill.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed it. Join us next time. We'll be diving into something new and exciting. Until then, happy exploring.